the youngest, first female Chief of Staff of the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. She was also Chief of Staff of the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education. She was the Chief of Staff, Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Sports, and previously she was a diplomat at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. She has a master's degree from Oxford University, and when I met her, she was a clerk at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Now, she currently, in her current job, she has led the development of the Sustaining Judiciary Transformation Blueprint. And she is here on the instructions of the Chief Justice, but she's my friend, and I am very proud to count her as my friend. And I am now going to ask her to deliver the Chief Justice's remarks, I hope in an abbreviated form. Yeah, but please join me in welcoming Madam Rose Washuka.
Thank you very much, my friend and brother, Komchetsi. Thank you very much, Mr. President, the chairperson of the Media Council, the registrar of the political parties, and the representative of the IEBC, esteemed editors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Please accept greetings from the Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, and a hearty invitation to lunch on the 16th of February 2022. She couldn't make it today, but she instructed that we hive off time in her calendar at the beginning of term next year to make sure that she has an entire afternoon with this group. Mr. President, on the 16th of February, I believe the formal communication will come, but I thought to just mention that so that you can free your calendars. Indeed, for me, it is an honor to read her speech. And before I do that, I love philosophy, and I was thinking about what Socrates thought about writing, because editors really are the quality assurers of the written form. And Socrates, who was a Greek philosopher, who thought and taught through argumentative dialogue, or what is called dialectic, did not write down his thoughts. In fact, writing repulsed him. And so the person who wrote his thoughts was his protege, the philosopher Plato. And Socrates narrates the life of Theus, who was at that time the person who discovered writing. Theus also discovered calculation, geometry, astronomy, and the game of checkers, but also writing. And there was a time the king of Egypt was called Thamos. And Thamos lived in the great city in the upper region that the Greeks called Egyptian Thebes. And Theus came to exhibit his work of art to him and urged the king to exhibit them to all of the Egyptians. And so Thamos asked Theus, what is the usefulness of the art that you're displaying? And Theus was explaining to him. And while he was doing that, Thamos, the king, was, praising him for what he thought was right and correcting him for what he thought was wrong. And the story goes that Thamos really said much to Theus, both for and against each of the art that he presented. But when it came to writing, Theus said, "O king, here is something that once learned will make Egyptians wiser and will improve their memory." He said that he had discovered a potion for memory and for wisdom. Thamos wasn't amused by that. He said, "O most expert Theus, one man can give birth to the elements of art, but only another can judge how they can benefit or harm those who will use them. And now, since you're the father of writing, your affection for it has made you describe its effects as the opposite of what they really are. In fact, writing will introduce forgetfulness into the souls of those who learn it. They will not practice using their memory because they will put their trust in writing, which is external and depends on signs that belong to others. And so instead of trying to remember the inside completely on their own, you have not discovered a portion for remembering, but for reminding. You have provided your students with the appearance of wisdom, not with its reality. Your invention will enable them to hear many things without being properly taught. And they will imagine that they have come to know much, while for the most part, they will know nothing. And they will be difficult to get along with, since they will merely appear to be wise instead of really being so. So that is the king telling Phil, the father of writing, that indeed writing will not aid in memory, but rather in the mimicking of wisdom. And so enters Socrates. And Socrates says, well then, those who think they can leave written instructions for an art, as well as those who accept them, thinking that writing can yield results that are clear and certain, must be quite naive and truly ignorant of Thamos's prophetic judgment, the king. Otherwise, how could they possibly think that words that have been written down can do more than remind those who already know what the writing is about? But if anyone asks them anything, they remain most solemnly silent. The same is true of written words, Socrates. You'd think they were speaking as if they had some understanding. He's talking about words. But if you question anything that has been said because you want to learn more, it continues to signify just that very same thing forever. When it has once been written down, every discourse roams about everywhere, reaching indiscriminately those with understanding no less than those who have no business with it. And it doesn't know to whom it should speak and to whom it should not. Words. And when it is faulted, words, writing, and attacked unfairly, it always needs its father's support, the writer or the editor, alone. It can neither defend itself nor come to its own support. And so Socrates says, now tell me, can we design another kind of discourse, a legitimate brother of this one? Can we say how it comes about and how it is by nature better and more capable? And he says, it is a discourse that is written down with knowledge in the soul of the listener. It can defend itself, and it knows for whom it should speak and for whom it should remain silent. Now, I think today, in the era of the information age, Socrates was quite wrong about writing, because indeed writing or words have become quite powerful in our world today. And so when I thought about these philosophical underpinnings of writing, I thought that is why the Constitution dichotomizes the freedom of expression and the freedom of the media. That they who write must also narrate. And that is the wisdom behind the dichotomy of the freedom of speech or expression and the freedom of the media. One is a vessel and the other a tool, and together they are life and liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to delve now into the written speech of the Chief Justice. Allow me to start by thanking the Kenya Editors Guild for the honor of inviting me to speak at your 4th annual convention. The theme of this convention, which is rethinking media role in emerging political and democratic processes, is a timely one as we head to the 2022 election cycle. It speaks to the Guild's awareness that the media plays a crucial role in shaping discourse and actions during the electioneering period, and hence the need to sit together and share perspectives on how to discharge the media's duty during the electioneering period. The media and the judiciary have traditionally been regarded as the guardians of democracy. Thus, our two institutions and their role in nurturing democratic governance as we head into the election period will be the focus of my address, which is on the topic of electoral accountability agents and public interest. Ladies and gentlemen, the old claim that the media ought to be an independent institution within the political system as the fourth estate has always been an ideal of any constitutional democracy. This is so because the media, in the words of the German philosopher and sociologist Jürgen Habermas, is the public sphere's preeminent institution. The media occupies this preeminent position given that the health and vitality of public discourse, and therefore our democracy lies to a large extent on the role of the media in making information publicly available and uncovering information by scrutiny and investigation. Despite this crucial role that the media plays as the lifeblood of our democracy, it faces an ingrained threat that at times hinders it from playing its public role effectively. Of all the checks and balances built into a representative democracy, elections, parliament, independent democracy, the media is the only one whose success, see? Great acclaim, I think so. The media is the only one whose success is measured commercially. And while this can be a strength, allowing the media to play its accountability role robustly, it has at times been a weakness as media owners on occasion underplay the public role of the media in pursuit of commercial success. And this at times has placed a threat, as has threats been placed in all our institutions by this pursuit of commercial success. However, in an emerging democracy such as ours, the need for robust checks and balances and scrutiny of those in power and public institutions is greater than ever before. This means that as the media focuses on commercial success, it should never forget and leave its public role behind. The growth of our democracy demands that both public and private media houses assert editorial independence. Editorial and journalistic independence is a cherished value that goes to the heart of your vocation and indeed the very establishment of our republic. In addition, editorial and journalistic independence is not intended to be an end in itself. Rather, its aim is that it should be exercised in public interest in the pursuit of the nation's common interest. It is on this basis that the Kenyan Constitution under Article 34 provides for a self-standing freedom of the media beyond the general provision on freedom of expression that is extended to everyone. By protecting editorial and journalistic freedom and independence, the Constitution envisages that the media should serve the common good. Indeed, as George Orwell has said of literature, literature is doomed if liberty of thought perishes. Not only is it doomed in any country which retains a totalitarian structure, but any writer who adopts the totalitarian outlook, who finds excuses for persecution and the falsification of reality, thereby destroying himself or herself as a writer, unless spontaneity enters at some point or another, literary creation is impossible, and language itself becomes something totally different from what it is now. And we may learn to separate literary creation from intellectual honesty. At present, we know only that the imagination, like certain wild animals, will not breed in captivity. And that is why the Constitution has liberated the media by a standalone Article 34, protecting your independence and your expression of the work that you do. And the Chief Justice affirms that the judiciary will be firmly behind you as you exercise this freedom for the benefit of our democracy and its values and principles. Because this duty becomes more urgent and vital in an electioneering context such as the one that we're heading to. The media and the judiciary are bedfellows, given that the two institutions were indicted for contributing to the 2007-2008 post-election violence. On our part, in the judiciary, we learned painful lessons from that experience, and we have since endeavored to build public confidence and trust in the judiciary's ability to fairly and justly determine electoral disputes. And we are, however, not sitting on our laurels due to past triumphs and what we've been able to do in the past two election periods. The judiciary has already put in place the Judiciary Committee on Elections and developed a comprehensive work plan to train judges, judicial officers, and staff on efficient mechanisms to handle election disputes as we head to the elections. We are also engaging other stakeholders, including other arms of government and agencies, on the need for adequate funding and provision of other facilitative infrastructure services, such as security, that will ensure optimal conditions for timely and just determination of electoral disputes. And this morning, the Honorable Mr. Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Justice of the Supreme Court, was on a standard media group, Spice FM, Situation Room, talking about the judiciary's preparedness to hear electoral disputes. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to use this opportunity to urge the Editors Guild to use its influence to steer our country towards the pursuit of our common good as we head to elections period. The media should embrace its accountability role as an independent institution in the political system and promote healthy and accountable democratic discourse. And she celebrates what you have done so far, and she recognizes that indeed you have held the truth perspective of our country in very, very high regard, emerging as one of the most robust media, not just on the African continent, and by history in the world. So she urges that we pass on that remark and encourages you to continue as you have in the past. So embracing this role will mean that the media will speak with its own voice and not merely echo the voice of the political actors. And this will necessitate embracing a more active role that involves asserting the media's own voice in commentary and analysis and scrutinizing the consequences of the utterances and policy proposals by the other actors in our democratic system. And of course, she urges that we promote the idea of peaceful national coexistence and resolution of any electoral disputes using the right channels. And that we all embrace this aspect of agency, that we own our agency of justice and of expression and of communication and truth, which is what you're charged with by Kenyans. And with those remarks, allow me to once again welcome you on the 16th of February to our luncheon, and we look forward to hosting you and urge you on as you continue to play this pivotal role in our democracy. And as the Chief Justice has remarked, indeed, without the media, independent media, we would have no country to raise our children and to dream of a future that holds the rights and freedoms that we work for. So thank you very much, and we are available to support you in everything and to provide the information that you need, even as we look to demystifying this animal of the judiciary. More and more we are opening up and we are presenting the persons who are in charge of various dockets to engagement with yourselves so that together we can share that truth and demystify this complexity of the justice system that has been in our country for a long time. And the vision of the Chief Justice, which is the social transformation through access to justice, aims to really demystify this and hand back the agency of justice to Kenyans. And that is why the judiciary now is looking beyond the institution of the judiciary to Kenyans, and to ensure that the doors of justice are broader, that they are more accepting and accommodating of Kenyans, and indeed that the role of the judiciary is understood and contextualized, and justice is owned by every Kenyan as the owner of that agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's please appreciate Washington again.